Hi everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode with the Silver Sabres Combat Academy. We've been doing fantastic, and the syllabus is going to expand now to also introduce a lot of the unarmed methods that normally you would have to spend a while studying before you were allowed to hold any of these weapons, right? Because if you don't understand how your hands and feet work, this stuff is never going to make any sense. It's always just going to be a gamble. One of the things that really blends the disciplines together are the forms that we practice, because even though you might be doing a weapons form, you're using a lot of the technology that comes from the unarmed forms. And in certain circumstances, we need to go deep. You need to get close to the ground. This is, from a strategic perspective, you only need to go deeper than your opponent. You don't have to go all the way to the floor. If they've only sunk that much, there's no value in being in a full posture. But if, on the other hand, you're doing a display fight or you're putting on a performance, then these deep postures and these incredibly large stances have cinematic value, shall we say. And you need to get them right, because if you don't, obviously, deep postures, there's a lot of pressure on your legs, and that pressure will translate into tissue damage if it's not managed very carefully. So you just take your time, approach these things gradually. We call them creep down postures. In particular, it comes from the single whip in the Tai Chi, and we turn it over and we draw into a huge snake creeps down, thus back across, and an absolutely essential component of going down is the ability to return. So if as you make the journey all the way down to the floor, you end up kind of collapsing into it and you're stuck there, it's not even going to look good. And in terms of strategy, it's a dead end. Once you've gone there, that's it. You ain't coming back, right? You have to retain the potential to explode back to full height and continue from there with whatever it is that you have to do. So the reason for why we want to go deep is it's intimidating sometimes. In unarmed combat, it's really important, if someone's trying to grapple you, for you to be able to establish a deeper route when necessary. And, being able to go all the way towards the floor helps quite a lot in just going a little bit towards the floor when you're under a lot of pressure. So we need these creep down postures. And obviously from a display perspective, they just look awesome. They just, the kids will stop doing and watch. As soon as you do something that clearly is difficult and took effort to get right, people recognize that. They stop and they pay attention, right? So it's difficult and you have to get it right, and there's a process. So if you're looking at these creep down postures and you haven't done your 6-6s, you haven't done your leg work and everything, and it goes horribly wrong for you, it's your own fault. It's your own fault. Your eyes are bigger than your belly. Take it slowly, bit by bit. It's like learning to do the splits. If you just drop and try and do it, you're going to end up in hospital. It's that simple, right? Okay, creep down. So the first thing you need to be able to do is touch your toes. All right? If you're not able to do this, then you're going to take 6 months out, and every day you're going to reach down and touch your toes and just allow yourself to get really, really comfortable with that stretch up the back of the legs. Now, initially, it's also important that you can do the squat. So I'm going to keep my feet close together, and I'm just going to sit down and lift back up. And sit down and lift back up. Now, from my fencing days, I've had crepitus of the knees since I was about 19 years old. If I don't do these right, I don't walk the next day. Okay, so this is why Tai Chi was so important to me, because it taught me how to control the damage so that I don't need to go for surgery anymore. I needed to go for surgery when I was 20. I didn't go. I learned Tai Chi instead, and here I am. I'm doing fine. I'm much stronger than I was back then. You're going to do these in stages, and you're not going to rush them. Okay, so first of all, you're going to practice touching your toes. All right, why? Because it stretches out the legs. You need those muscles to be soft and supple, and you need the joints to start to open. Then you're going to, first of all, the squat. So I'll hold my hands out. The bum is going to go down towards the ball of the feet. The head is going to lift up towards the sky. Simple squats. Right, now you're going to do the same thing, but from a horse stance. Okay, and again, we're taking our time. No rush, none. First, I simply have to touch my toes. Okay, and I'm going to just relax that as much as I can, so I'm hanging from the waist. My knees are locked. I'm going to stretch up the back, and then I'm going to soften them, and I'm going to feel as I soften them how the stretch changes through the muscles, and then I'm going to lock them again. Then I'm going to release them again. I'll turn to the side. From here, horse stance, bend the knees, lock the knees. Yeah. Get those knuckles down, get the backs of the hands down towards the floor. Really feel that stretch. Then explore with the legs straightened and with the knees bent. With the legs straightened and with the knees bent. And let that stretch, because what you're doing next is you're going across and getting both hands to one side, and that's going to change again, and both hands to the other side. Right, and now, do you remember that squat? By this point in time, your legs should be nice and, you know, they're warming. You should be able to feel the blood moving through them. Now, we're going to squat with the knees and the feet separated. And what you're now doing is you're exploring deep in the hip joint how it's going to articulate, how it's going to open up and allow yourself. Because if your knees collapse together like this is no use to you. You can see the feet have to roll like this, and you need the feet to be flat, or otherwise you don't have a root. If you don't have a root, what's the point? You won't be able to articulate, you won't be able to express yourself. You'll collapse as you go down, and that means you're dead, right? So you have to keep the feet flat on the floor, and you have to keep the knees above each foot. So watch my elbows here. I'm going to get my elbows inside my knees, and I'm going to push this knee over that foot, and I'm going to push that knee over that foot. I'm going to make sure that the feet are flat against the floor, and while sitting here like this, and it might take you 6 months to get here, right? And I don't want to hear any nonsense about, oh, you know, Asians and Africans and Caucasians and whatever, they're all different. They're not. We're one race, right? Anybody who hasn't spent their lifetime sitting in chairs can do this. It doesn't matter what part of the world you come from. You just got to get up, stretch 6 months, and you can do it. This is natural for any human being, right? Anybody who says that they have trouble with it, sure, I had trouble with it as well. Remember, I had crepitus in my knees. You just got to take your time. And then once you're down here, we're going to shift the weight over to here, back through the middle, and all the weight over again to here, and I can really experience my ankles being challenged, the Achilles tendon being stretched as it's under all this pressure. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn around again. I'm going to show you in profile what's happening here. I'm not going down like this. It's no use. I have to drop vertically, right? So from the bum, straight down. Head is still lifting like a balloon. Elbows inside the knees. Allow myself to just now ease the weight into the balls of the feet as opposed to flat across the whole surface. And now I'm going to shift from one side to the other side. One side to the other side. And if I turn back to the center again here, I'm going to creep down. Shift across, and from here one foot. Bring it in, and the other foot. I'm still lifting the head, I'm still sinking the bum, and I'm just going to now, I'm keeping this knee soft. It's not locked. It is not locked, okay? This knee is above that toe. I don't want it to be caved in like this. My foot is now rolling. That knee in line with these toes. This elbow inside that knee. This knee is still nice and soft. That foot is flat on the floor. And you're going to try this and you're going to end up falling down, and it's going to be really painful and everything. And again, all you have to remember here is you do not rush it. You do not rush it. If you tear something, that's 6 months of your life gone. Boom, no more training. Wait for it to knit itself back together, and then you'll try it again. This time you've got scar tissue, which is meaning you're going to be longer to try and get it to actually open up than it was in the first place. The shortcut is to go slowly. The shortcut is to do things properly. This is for people who are at level 4 and beyond. You should, however, if you can't touch your toes and if you can't do a simple squat, yeah, you should be trying to do those in preparation for when you arrive at the practice of the form. Now, you start ahead of time, because when we need it, you should have done the preparation by then. Yeah, so being able to touch your toes, yeah, being able to do your 6-6s with a certain amount of grace and strength and balance and all of those things, you need it. You need it, because this is what the creep down looks like. It's from here. This is called snake creeps down. And it's a gorgeous movement. It looks beautiful, but it's a lifesaver if somebody's trying to insist on something that you don't quite agree with. What do I want to look at? I want to look at the sword. So the place where we see this in the form, for example, is where we transition from push window, gaze at the moon, into, in the traditional Dao form, it goes to an overhead chop. But in the two-handed form, what we do is we turn it into a defense with a counter. So here, this is push window. There's your opposed hanging parry. There's push window, gaze at the moon. And again, look, see the slip of the foot? There's the opening of the foot. Now, where am I going? Am I going across? No, I'm going from the center down into the ball of that foot. So from here, and it's exactly the same technology. And you can see the knee is soft. The knees are over the toes. In this case, it doesn't so matter because the foot's not carrying the weight. Head up, bum down. And from here, I can make that transition back with strength. I don't end up stuck here because I've not collapsed into it. I maintain the potential. I don't even have to go any deeper than this, because from here, that's going to defend against that incoming attack. And there's your return straight from there. It's driven from the leg. There's the transition. And because I'm moving into a single weighted posture here, I can rotate, which means I'm adding the transition and the rotation of the waist into the action of the sword. All right? If I don't have good footwork, I've only got deltoids, triceps, forearm muscles, some fine muscles in the back to create a thoracic rotation, which will mean that you can't breathe, right? So if you're not using your legs, the way that you're doing these movements is to basically arrest the diaphragm and twist the torso to make up for the fact that there's a physical illiteracy that's retarding the action of the movement, right? So small things. Let's put this back. Small things. Mother stance, touch your toes. Horse stance, touch your toes. Squat, elbows inside the knees. Shift one side to the other side. One side to the other side. Are my foundations still true? Is my head lifting? Yes. Is my bum sinking? Yes. Am I balanced in the feet? Yes. Am I breathing to the belly? Most certainly. Am I relaxed? Where's my ice cream? Someone get me some ice cream. Yeah? From here, now we can actually make the transition across from one side to the other. And it's quite difficult not to keep your bum sticking out as you do this. So your focus is on those 5 foundations and the transitions. And you are going to find, notice I'm not using my hands at all. And I'm trying to keep that bum down and that head up throughout this transition. Right, and there you are. Creep down postures. And they're fun. They're fun, they look beautiful, give you legs like tree trunks. Yeah, and gives you a little spice and flavour to throw in to those display fights. And remember, display fights are all about showing off. So learn this stuff, all right? Thank you.